Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the TEW 2020 Territory Save here on the channel as we are in the month of February. Very funny how this series is going along because obviously with it being monthly, we are not moving at the pace of some of the other saves on the channel. But of course this is a giant one, playing as 8 companies at the same goddamn time as for this episode of course. We're going to try and get back on the normal path of what we were trying to do, and that's releasing every month. As far as, so this is just going to be showcasing what's going on in the month of February, as we'll be talking about a lot of things happening, because there is a lot that has happened, even just from the last time you saw us, because obviously we had all the first end of the month shows, all of our kind of major shows in the save, which we'll talk about here shortly. And also, of course, with a new month, means more importantly, we have a new newsletter. As for the February one, big kind of showcase I want to do was on Donnelly O'Jonathan being back in Stampede and winning the Canadian Heavyweight Championship, as you see here, of course, the Giant of the North. But yeah, Donnelly O'Jonathan back as far as for him, returning to Stampede and winning the NWA Canadian Heavyweight Championship for the third time in his career. First time since 1965. As far as for him, so it just felt like that was a fun kind of cover. But also, we'll be seeing an exclusive NWA press release regarding the major NWA heavyweight title matchup that, of course, there has been some other NWA heavyweight title matches that we've had in the save specifically. One being the Rufus R. Jones title matchup for Western State Sports, but this one will be, we'll talk about here relatively soon. But first, as far as we want to go through the rest of the newsletter, kind of major headlines. So the first one, I want to talk about the Pat Patterson-Ray Stevens matchup for the U.S. title over there. And as far as for, well, actually, go ahead and just switch on over to Royshire for the, I just feel like it's easier to go through it like this. So their matchup for the United States Heavyweight title was a barn burner. An hour time limit draw at the Oakland Arena. It was a 2 out of 3 falls matchup though. So 2 out of 3 falls in it going the distance. I thought was a fun idea. Of course we built it up with the Big Time Wrestling television show where it was a count-out finish. Felt like this was a great kind of counter to that, to win the belt, well, not win it, retain it via a draw with, Ray Stevens winning one fall, Pat Patterson winning the other fall, and then it go in the distance for an hour. Because again, just the idea of having a return match between those two just makes a whole lot of sense, but also for Pat Patterson, he's got some other guys to potentially that are potentially gunning for his belt, Bearcat Wright being back in the company. That would be a great call. As far as with also, Peter Maivia, as far as Royshire's, of course, tag partner still. And, of course, that was Theodore having his 2 cents in. As for, as far as, again, with these 8 companies we have so far, might be my favorite one still. Big Time Wrestling in San Francisco. Just been a lot of fun. We've made money as them, which is always nice. But that just as far as some of the that we still have all the TV. We still have our house show business going well. It's just kind of crazy. Actually, I don't even think we do a house show loop. Oh, no, yeah, we don't. So we just have our 2 TV shows and in the end of the month show. So, very, pretty busy that we are as far as with San Francisco. But that's kind of been the big program, so just kind of want to talk about that. So, yeah, going an hour in Oakland. It was very fun to do. That was at the end of the month, major show there. And then for the other headline, as far as Rip Hawk and Sweet Hansen, looking to make the Blonde Bombers the best team of 1970. It's very weird that they did not have the Blonde Bombers as far as having the E on the end, but that's alright. That's how they spelled it in real life. I don't know why no one told them, hey, you put an E on that thing to make it blonde, but that's alright. They had won the, as far as we'll go back to the game, as far as to go to Jim Crockett Promotions, because as far as the end of the month show for them, saw the Atlantic Coast Tag Team titles of the NWA titles. Giant Change, as Sweet Hands and Rip Hawk beat the George Becker, Johnny Weaver team in a hell of a matchup, as it was a 63, funny enough, but yeah, it was a street fight match, and basically the idea was just no DQ because of the DQ finish. That was, even though it's technically considered a street fight, the idea was just a no DQ matchup. It is that would have been the stipulation. It would have been an actual street fight, but because there was not like a no DQ matchup in the match record thing, just felt like this was kind of the best case scenario. So that's been a fun program. Also, for Jim Crockett Promotions, the finals of the Eastern States Heavyweight Tournament ended with Skull Murphy getting the win. Basically, Tinker Todd, which is one of my favorite just names in this save, he had to face both him and Brute Bernard, of course, as far as their tag team, because Tojo Yamamoto got hurt, and they had to, as far as his match had to get vacated, or forfeited, rather, Jesus, as that would definitely be the right word, forfeited his matchup. So basically Skull Murphy had a bye to the finals, and right after Brute Bernard lost, Skull Murphy was right there, put the boots to him, and even before the match even started, technically, both Skull Murphy and Brute Bernard 2-on-1 beatdown pretty much, and it just led to an easy victory for him because of that. So just a nice little kind of tidbit there about the Eastern States Heavyweight Championship, which of course their first ever champion being Skull Murphy. So that's kind of why we want to talk about them being the new best team, because I thought, like, as far as in the previous rankings for the the tag team rankings, which we'll be talking about here in a little bit for the February ones, but the January ones for the new year, in our first ones we looked at in episode 1. Actually, no, it was episode 2. That's right. We forgot to showcase it off in episode 1. So that's why, as far as trying to get it back on track. But, for this, this headline, I wanted to really focus on them, because I felt like they've been, as far as it's either them or Ray Stevens and Peter Maivia, as far as, like, the best kind of pound-for-pound team as far as rankings goes, or even B.I. Cannon, of course, of Antonio Inoki and Giant Baba. And then the final one, it's technically did not happen in the save, but it's very, very important, obviously, as tragedy strikes McMahon family. Son of WWF President Vince McMahon Jr., dies in motorcycle accident at the age of 25. So obviously, as far as from Vince Jr., he has not been in the save yet. He would not have made his debut yet. And, as far as originally, we were going to have him be a part of it as kind of like the announcer, and then never really doing the full ambitions that he would do and take over once, obviously, Vince Sr. passed down the promotion that he eventually passes. Obviously, we know how Vince's business motto was, and it was to expand, it was to reach a global audience, and obviously being in New York is kind of his main hub. And having running a lot of the major arenas, like as far as the of course the Garden, and you have I would say even the Philadelphia Civic Center being a kind of nice hub for him, and then as far as the Nassau Coliseum later on, and just kind of some of the other arenas in New York City, and kind of in once they get into Pennsylvania more, and then they started going out more, and then end up running Chicago at the Rosemont Horizon Center, and then you go fucking obviously the global expansion that we all know, and now we have this juggernaut of a promotion in obviously the WWE. But for Vince, if you had to take away somebody as kind of like what would be kind of the butterfly effect of the territories that would make them last longer, kind of logically, feel like he's the best guy to do that, and he's a bit of a piece of shit. So it's kind of taking two birds with one stone as far as taking that out. And he did have a motorcycle accident. I forget when it was in real life. It was not around this time. But he did have one, which is kind of crazy as far as somebody that kind of famous and that big. It's still, we just actually in real life, somebody, I forget his the name, but the actor that he's in Gen V, he's in Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. He's like around my age. I think he's 27, or he was 27, unfortunately. Passed away from a motorcycle crash. So just kind of something like that, where it's even today, in 2024, motorcycles very, very dangerous. But felt like that was a logical kind of way to have somebody pass at obviously such a young age. But it, yeah, I guess, again, for Vince Jr., Vincent Kennedy McMahon, sure, did he have this vision to expand wrestling into a global phenomenon? I mean, sure, I think there's a lot of other companies that wanted that. I'd say Vern Gagne kind of, with the AWA, was trying to do that. A lot of, it's just far as with his partnerships with a lot of the other companies, and once he kind of left the NWA, there was a potential there, and obviously Jim Crockett was kind of venturing out, which that was never really going to work. If they would have just, I think a lot of people said if they would have not went even as far west as even like Chicago, they probably would have been just fine and still be running major business because it was just on fire in the 80s. But, just as far as, I felt like this was kind of the perfect time to do it. Take Vince out before he's in the save. Basically what I did was just edit his debut to being like in 2031, so that way he would never show up here in this save. So just, as far as that's why, Vince, as far as why we took him out. As far as that's the newsletter, very as far as the cover, but as far as the rankings go, some changes for sure. As far as for the February rankings here in 1970, we see a new challenger as far as the new number one contender after Bruno Sammartino beat Ivan Koloff at the end of the month show here in January. Next man up is Killer Kowalski, so we'll see if Kowalski can beat Bruno Sammartino. Very excited to see how that match plays out. George Steele now jumping up from third to second. Ernie Ladd and Bobo Brazil at 4 and 5. That is the U.S. title program happening in the WWF still. Very, very excited to see how that plays out. As far as those two have had a lot of fun. And also Bobo Brazil, we just had him beat the Sheik at Big Time Wrestling. As far as, so that was exciting for the U.S. title there. So now he's U.S. title in multiple regions. He's still getting booked in the AWA as well. He's just kind of getting booked all over the place. But yeah, I mean, Bobo's been tremendous so far in the save still, which is no surprise. Gorilla Monsoon in the top 5 now. Dick Brower, 6th, Waldo Von Erich, 7th. So Ivan Koloff falling from 1 to 8. Toru Tanaka and Tony Marino still 9 and 10 now. So that's the WWF. Then the AWA. Of course, we just had the Vern Gagne-Bill Watts matchup, which did not go over as well as I would have hoped. Bill Watts not really that great at this time in 1970. He's definitely up there in age, and I would say definitely kind of more harkening to more of a backstage role, like him and Fritz and kind of the guys that really take a more backstage role. You could definitely see the ratings are starting to show up like that. Like we had Fritz face Giant Baba for the NWA Heavyweight title because he's the NWA, I think, North American Heavyweight Champion in Big Time Wrestling / World Class, and he was like brutal. And that's I want to say, let's just actually, since we're talking about it, let's go ahead and just bring it up. Let's go to GW. Let's go over to Japan. Let's go to the title history. International Heavyweight title. So it's not gonna bring it up. Let's go to the show history. It's the end of the month. It's the main event. So it actually was a 68 for the match, but Fritz with a 37. Pretty brutal. Pretty brutal, but Giant Baba with a all-time carry performance. 23,000 people, too, for that show. pretty crazy. Also have a new All Asia Tag Team Champs, as I felt like Inoki is like a double champ. Didn't really needed it, so we dropped the belts to Strong Thunder and Strong Kobayashi, and then Thunder Sugiyama. Yes, I believe so. So that's just kind of been a fun little team to have. But yeah, that's just the JWA since we brought them up. They also made money last month, so that's nice. But oh yeah, as far as to go back to the rankings system. Actually, a little time I wanted to look at Fritz's title. It's not gonna bring it up. Title history. Oh yeah, NWA American Heavyweight Championship. I thought that's what it was, so I'm glad we double check that. So yeah, I felt like that was a good title versus title thing as far as like the coming in, the scary old man Gaijin coming in to try to take out the young giant and Giant Baba, with Baba holding his hand up high for the victory. But yeah, as far as just a little tidbit going on to say. But Baron Von Raschke and Mad Dog Vachon at 1 and 2 now. Now, funny enough, those two men, they are, now that we have to go back from the rankings to the AWA, we're talking about them, they were, as far as, they are still actually, the new Midwest Tag Team Champions. So funny enough, Larry Hennig and Lars Anderson, after they beat Reggie Parks and Stan Pulaski, as far as that was right before we, kind of at the start of episode 2, we talked about that. They also, and Lars Anderson and Larry Hennig, they also beat Butcher and Mad Dog, because obviously Butcher is leaving for Florida. So it's like, alright, we gotta get the belts off of them. Felt like that was a kind of fun idea to potentially have double champs, but then having them lose to Mad Dog and his new partner, Baron Von Raschke, for the Midwest Tag Team title. So, with them being 1 and 2, it's going to be interesting, obviously, in regards to to Vern, as with having his first defense being against Bill Watts, which that was also another 67, but like Bill Watts was pretty brutal in that matchup, actually pretty brutal as Vern was actually the kind of worst one out of that matchup with a 55, which is kind of crazy because Bill Watts with the 67 is very, very impressive. I'm not sure exactly what happened with Vern, because Vern usually does pretty well. Because, I mean, I think Bill Watts is a little bit young. Oh, yeah, he's 30. Yeah, he's in the prime of his career, really. So Fritz, I keep on wanting to call Vern Gagne Fritz, because I got Fritz Von Erich on the brain. I was about to say, yeah, he had a 59 against Angelo Pavo, so I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, only a 4-point drop-off, but still. Seems like he's getting worse and worse already throughout the save. Obviously, the kind of next man up is Nick Bockwinkel, but that's still a long ways to go for him as far as for it to make sense because of popularity. I mean, he's getting better already, just popularity-wise, but we need him to be even more over, and I just cannot wait for all that to take place. And, unfortunately, Dr. X the Destroyer leaving soon, and this still sucks about all that, because obviously I love the Destroyer. I wanted him to be able to work Japan, which we still can't. We just have to do like a alliance loan. But yeah, that's kind of interesting as far as Raschke and Mad Dog being 1 and 2, since they're the Midwest Tag Team Champs right now. But Harley Race at 3, which I'm still excited to see him and Vern. I just feel like that's kind of the next big program. He would kind of leapfrog Raschke and Vachon because of what they're doing with the Midwest Tag Team titles. And then Dick the Bruiser at 4. Blackjack lands at 5. Bill Watts dropping down to 6, which is not too bad. Again, just with Bill Watts, I just feel like with him, he doesn't really need to be a champion in the AWA since he's got his own shit going on with the eventual Mid-South, obviously. And then Larry the Axe Hennig, the Crusher, at 7 and 8, Bobo Brazil at 9, and then Luke Graham at 10. So it's just, again, crazy. Bobo Brazil is ranked in the top 10 in 2 different promotions. Just shows you how over he is. So the junior wrestling scene right now really hasn't changed a whole lot. Really in the save, it's only been him and Paul Jones as far as Danny Hodge and Paul Jones. That's the only title matches we've booked. But the Mil Mascaras matchup, I'm not sure exactly if I want that to be in Japan. It's kind of tough with that matchup because I want to kind of do WWF for that match because I feel like that'd be a lot of fun. But obviously, that's an NWA title matchup, so we can't really do that in the WWF. So we are kind of in a weird spot with that because I would say he is the number one contender, Mil Mascaras, and then Ray Stevens at two. Ray Stevens is tremendous, of course. That will probably happen in Big Time Wrestling in San Francisco, and that's going to be a hell of a match. As Rayo de Jalisco, as far as that will probably happen in Japan. So that's going to be interesting to see. Tony Marino, which is very funny because obviously, again, that's a WWF guy. So not exactly, that will probably never happen, but it's still, he is one of the best junior heavyweights in the world. I feel like we need to, put some respect on his name with that. Fred Curry at 5, Bob Sweetan at 6, Paul Jones dropping from, I want to say he was either 3rd or 4th, and he dropped down to 7th. Colosso Calesti as far as 8th, Cowboy Bob Ellis at 9, and then Eduardo Carpenter as far as a former NWA heavyweight champion in its own right, but now, as he's gotten a little bit older, felt like kind of pivot from the heavyweight scene to the junior heavyweight title scene with that. And then for the women's wrestling, that doesn't really change. Is Sherry Lee and Irma Gonzalez still 1 and 2, which Irma Gonzalez is now the new AWA women's champ. She's the first women's champ there, so that's exciting. Donna Cristanello is the next challenger for the Fabulous Moolah. So that's going to be exciting to see. Really, 4, 5, 6 doesn't really change. Really, it's just Donna Cristanello and Tony Rose kind of like switch spots, is basically how this ranking system played out for the women's side. For the tag teams, though, a lot of changes here. So obviously, George Becker and Johnny Weaver, they were the number 1 team. Now they've dropped down to 6. Now the B.I. Cannon, number 1 team in the world, incredible team. The Fabulous Kangaroos, which they are now, as far as for Big Time Wrestling, which we're going to switch over to that real quick to talk about the title scene there. New World, or actually not the New World Tag Team Champions. They are having a challenge for the Skull Brothers NWA World Tag Team titles very, very soon. They just had their title matchup, which they came up on the losing end, but they'll have a rematch there. But yeah, it was crazy. It's only a 49. Tough break for them, which with them beating the Fabulous Kangaroos, they probably should have been higher in for Cowboy Parker and JB Psycho of the Skull Brothers, but they I just felt like personally we had them win kind of underhandedly, kind of helping with the interference from just dirty tactics and whatnot, and using weapons. So it was not a clean finish, but they're still as far as from a name recognition and alone and whatnot. Fabulous Kangaroo still an incredible team. The Vachons, which will probably be the last time we see them on this list because obviously Butcher's going to Championship Wrestling for Florida. So it'll probably be Mad Dog and Baron Von Raschke. Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher. They're at 4, so 2 AWA teams in the top 5. And then, of course, Sweet Hansen, Rip Hawk, the Blonde Bombers. Of course, George Becker and Johnny Weaver, Ray Stevens and Peter Maivia, which is a hell of a team. The Von Erichs and Waldo and Fritz, which is, still obviously from a namesake thing. Flying Scots, they are 9. And then the Torres brothers at 10. But yeah, the B.I. Cannon, Antonio Inoki, Giant Baba, definitely the best team in the save by far. They're incredible. 2 major stars in the prime of their careers. Nothing more you can really say there. And then the NWA rankings here for the NWA Heavyweight title. The World Heavyweight Champion, Dory Funk Jr. And you see the number 1 contender, Wahoo McDaniel. They're number 1. 2, Dick the Bruiser. 3, Giant Baba. 4, Pat Patterson. 5, Billy Robinson. 6, Johnny Valentine. Gene Kiniski at 7. The man who lost the belt to Dory Funk Jr., Bearcat Brown at 8, Mil Mascaras at 9, and then Jack Briscoe, who had a match against Dory Funk Jr. in the save and lost in Florida, so that's why he's dropped down a little bit. So, obviously, with that, with Wahoo McDaniel And we see Wahoo, we see Killer Kowalski there, Baron Von Raschke, and Bubba Patel as far as like the little profile pictures. We have a NWA press release regarding the title matchup between Wahoo McDaniel and Dory Funk Jr. It has been set, as they are thrilled to announce the NWA, being thrilled to announce the date and location has been set, or have been set, since it's, kind of past tense, have been set for the monumental showdown for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship on Friday, February the 5th. Western State Sports will host for fans in the Mid-South area a clash of titans as challenger Wahoo McDaniel, as far as challenges, reigning World Heavyweight Champion Dory Funk Jr. Wahoo McDaniel, an AFL champion with the Houston Oilers, who plays at the University of Oklahoma, is a powerhouse with unmatched intensity in the squared circle, having set his sights on the coveted NWA Heavyweight Championship. His journey to this moment has been marked by hard-fought victories and an incredible determination that will look to bring his devastating chops to pick up the major victory for not only him, but for the Chickasaw culture, as McDaniel enters this match as a formidable threat to Dory Funk Jr., and if he wins, he will become the first ever Native American NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Standing in McDaniel's way is none other than the reigning champion himself, Dory Funk Jr., a wrestling virtuoso with his championship reign on the line just a week before it officially marks 1 full year as champion. Funk Jr. has successfully defended his title against some of the toughest competitors in the NWA and all over the world. His technical prowess and strategic mastery, inside the wrestling ring make him a tough champion to defeat, ensuring that every title defense is a spectacle of skill and ability. The NWA Heavyweight Championship matchup between Wahoo McDaniel and Dory Funk Jr. promised to be a clash for the ages, combining raw power, technical finesse, and the sheer will to be the very best in pro wrestling, in a battle that will define the future of the NWA Heavyweight Championship. As don't miss out on witnessing, Jesus. Don't miss out on oh my god, I did it again. Don't miss out on witnessing history in the making. Wahoo McDaniel challenges Dory Funk Jr. for the NWA Heavyweight title. So yeah, in the magazines they would do this. Mainly they wouldn't do something like this where they would kind of run down a full-on hype of a main event. Most of the time they would just kind of talk about what's going on a little bit in as far as talking about what they want to do for the brand of the NWA, or what they want to do as far as regarding sanctions, like maybe a new promotion coming in, maybe as far as maybe a promotion leaving, and there's a whole bunch of different if you could, because obviously there are still people that have scanned a lot of the old wrestling magazines of the 70s, where they'll have like the official press releases that were in the magazines, and most of the time it was kind of like written more like a article, more so like than something like this where it was kind of mapped out in different paragraphs. That was just easier for me to fit it all on this piece of paper. But the NWA World Heavyweight title clash has been set. It will be taking place in Western State Sports, so that's now 2 title matches for them in the save. But Wahoo, Dory Funk Jr., gonna be a lot of fun. Of course, Wahoo, basically a hometown guy for them. Went to University of Oklahoma, was a AFL champion with the Houston Oilers. Like, that is as much as a hometown guy as you can be, taking on somebody like Dory Funk Jr. Very fun match. Very, very fun, because it's just a styles clash there. Wahoo, physical, bigger, is a guy that will beat the fuck out of you. And there's a lot of people, there's a lot of love and hate with Wahoo. Maybe not so much Wahoo. Definitely with, like, Chief J Strongbow, but, because obviously Chief J Strongbow, that was a gimmick. Like, he was Italian. He was not an actual Native American, whereas, obviously, Wahoo McDaniel was, as far as with Wahoo, which his name, actually, funny enough, I didn't know this, his name, like his shoot name, was like Edward Hugh McDaniel, and that just Hugh sometimes, I guess, with like a southern drawl would sometimes sound like, as far as like a wahoo, as far as, so it's just a fun little nickname that caught on when he was not in wrestling, when he was like at the University of Oklahoma, and I think maybe even in high school. So yeah, just as far as that was just a fun tidbit that I found out, discovered. And for, Wahoo, I'm excited to see how he does as far as in Western State sports, which we'll go ahead and jump on over. I think he is considered a major star. Yes, he is. From his popularity, which no surprise. With the kind of accolades he's had and all that fun jazz, he's definitely, I would say, that'd be his, there in the Mid-South area, and then Southeast, he work a lot of Florida, and then I'd say Mid-Atlantic were kind of his three major hubs. He would work for New York a couple of times, but I would say that was mainly it. And obviously, with and even funny enough, yeah, as far as I saw this as well, he was a catcher for his little they on the Wikipedia page it said it was a pony league team, which that's like 13 to 17, but it says here it's a little league team. But he was coached by future President George H.W. Bush. So I thought that was kind of wild. But yeah, he was pretty awesome. I always thought, as far as watching a lot of Wahoo stuff, because he's pretty great, pretty great as far as a guy that can bring it, and he will beat the fuck out of you. The thing with Wahoo is, I guess promos, they were actually a lot better than I anticipated. I didn't think they were going to be like that great when I first started down my journey into just as far as watching as much wrestling as I could. It's actually pretty solid promo. I figured it would kind of be more typical, like more stereotypical from his stuff, but no, he would just pretty much talk like he normally would. So it was just kind of, I didn't know if he was gonna kind of jazz it up and kind of go more stereotypical with it, but no, he was pretty much just straight up himself. But yeah, as far as that match with him and Dory Funk Jr., as far as I didn't look to see if they had an NWA heavyweight title matchup in real life, because after, I guess we could actually. Oh no, I was about to take a look real quick, but yeah, we're good to go. We're recording here, right? Let's not take any more time away from you. I'm sure they did, because I feel like they had to have in the. But I don't know though. Around this time is kind of when he started taking wrestling more on obviously full time, and as far as from that perspective. Because, back then, the guys like That's How Ernie Ladd got started and That's How Wahoo got started. They would do wrestling as kind of like a part-time gig for just extra money during the off-season. Then once their career ended in football, they would start doing stuff full-time. So, I think that's what happened with Wahoo as well. Which, Wahoo, I thought he did a lot more in football. But I guess he was just the AFL champion. Like, I was thinking he was like an all-pro and stuff like that, but no. But I believe he actually was trained by Dory Funk Sr., which is kind of crazy. If you see his, late stuff, you would probably be like, what the fuck? But, you have to understand, this guy started in 1961, and a lot of his older stuff was, in the 90s and late 80s. It's like, of course he's not going to be as great as he was then. But, yeah, so we didn't even bring that up too, but I felt like, I don't know if they talked about that in wrestling at that time, as far as having the as far as having trained with as far as Dory and Wahoo. Actually they did team in the looks like in the 80s at Mid-Atlantic. Dory Funk Jr. and him. Yeah, they had a U.S. title matchup. Wow. They have a number one contendership matchup in Houston in 79, by the looks of it. Oh, they did have a couple of World Heavyweight title matches. Yeah, and looks like in Houston in 71. That makes sense. Oh, yeah, and it looks like in 70 as well. That makes sense. Yep, that checks out. Oh yeah, there's big time wrestling. So yeah, even in world class too. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. There's the Western States one. So yeah, it was 66. Uh, it was Terry and Wahoo against Dory Funk Jr. Ricky Romero. So yeah, they've had a long history throughout their time. So we probably should have brought that up in the press release, but that's all right. As far as Dory Funk Jr. and Wahoo McDaniel, going to be a fun match. Going to be a very fun matchup. As far as for the titles scene here in the NWA, still Dory Funk Jr. obviously, and still Danny Hodge. Both have defended the belt 7 times here in the save, which is kind of crazy. And only once for each of our promotions here that we are controlling. But yeah, Dory Funk Jr., the Jack Briscoe match was like, damn, because I wanted to obviously do that here in the save, but they did it there, and that was a 72. Surprisingly enough, him and Jackie Fargo having a match, which that makes sense as far as like Jackie, of course, one of the major stars in Memphis around that time, and as far as kind of surprised they booked it, but MLL having 2 title matches kind of stinks, but that's neither here nor there. It's very funny that our match that we booked here in the save is the worst match of that title scene so far, and I believe it's the same thing for the junior division as well. Yeah, the 2 out of 3 falls matchup with Paul Jones was a 44, so that's been great. That just feels great. But yeah, I cannot believe the Killer Carl Cox match did as well as it did as well. And again, they had 2 EMLL matches, actually 3. So EMLL's got to calm their fucking tits as far as booking these NWA champions, these title matches. As far as so Western State Sports is actually one of the only ones that have lost money, which is kind of fucked up. But yeah, that's been tough to deal with as far as from a financial standpoint. As far as from a company standpoint, really the kind of biggest loss is big time wrestling. They lost out on their television deal. As far as they only made $1,000, but at least they made money. No TV deal anymore. Mainly because, which is kind of fucked up, because I felt like we were doing all right. As far as the 55 show was definitely the best one, but it just wasn't going to be enough, unfortunately. I just didn't, we just don't have a roster that was going to be good enough to do anything better than like a 50 for the beginning of the save. Everybody's kind of up there in age, and sure, we could have had Sheik and Bobo title matches on the shows to make it as far as worthwhile, but I just didn't want to do that. I felt like that would be kind of cheating the system a little bit. But yeah, they had a steel cage match, which was a lot of fun to have that be the main event. Yeah, it was 5,000 people. Bobo winning the belt. Thought that was the right call, to be honest. Felt like with Bobo Brazil as the United States Heavyweight Champion, hadn't held the belt in a couple of years. Yeah, since '61. So almost 9 years since he's been champion. Felt like the Sheik's run, he had the belt since '66. So I just felt like it was a long time coming for him to drop it. And actually, since '65, technically, since he vacated the belt for like a month in September. So, yeah, a long time coming for him to, as far as being a champion. Now, he is a drawing power still in the Sheik, which we are the Sheik. So that was an easy one as far as having lose to him. But he's still doing pretty well, even at 43 years old. I want to say the ratings, it was relatively close. Yeah, Bobo outperformed him, but for a guy who's 43, still being in like the 50s wasn't too bad. But it's kind of funny, his only title defenses here in the save were by either DQ or countout. But yeah, just as far as, that's what the Sheik's doing right now in Big Time Wrestling, which I'm cool with them not having a TV deal. Because I'm not really looking for them to obviously expand or anything. Like all these promotions. I'm not really looking for those guys to really expand too much. Really, the one I want to gain the most popularity is Jim Crockett Promotion, because they are still small, I believe. Yeah. I want them to get to at least medium, which looks like they already are for Mid-Atlantic. They just need to get the Southeast and the Tri-State at least 35. So once we get that, they'll be in medium, so that's going to be nice to see. The WWF They're still medium. They actually made a little bit as well. As, of course, Bruno, still champ. Fabulous Moolah, looking to defend her belt. We still haven't crowned tag team champs, women's tag team champs. Antonio Marino, Victor Rivera, still the tag champs. Bobo now, still, as far as he's a U.S. champion, 2 places now. And, of course, the world champion, Bruno. And the junior champion, which is now, which Johnny DeFazio will probably drop that belt here in the month of February, just because he's held the belt since 65, and he's not really good here in the saves. So, excited to see how that plays out, as far as who we pick. And, trying to see, we'll just go down the... We went through the AWA a little bit, so we don't really need to harken on that too much. They've been a lot of fun. There's just a lot of talent in the AWA. Stampede, bit of a shit show. As you can see, the backstage morale still not great. We're making money still. I'm surprised we have not lost the TV deal. But of course, Don Leo Jonathan now, or as far as the NWA Canadian Heavyweight Champion. But Billy Robinson, still the man. And very, very excited to see what he can do. If we can get a Dory Funk Jr. Billy Robinson match in Stampede, that'll probably be pretty awesome. So that's just something on the horizon there. Then, as far as Japan, of course, last time we talked, they did not have their television deal with, as far as Nippon Press Juki, as far as that went out. I don't know why it says that the TV deal, it should still be going on. I thought it was. Did we also lose that as well? Oh, we also lost that. Yeah, they got canceled as well. So that was fine. So now they have no television deals, even though we finished first out of the 3 in Kanto. As far as we are the best promotion in Japan, the JWA. But something, I'm not sure exactly what we need to do to be better. Again, like mid 50s, 60s. I thought that was a good rating for us to have, because it wasn't enough. So that's been pretty tough to deal with. So now the JWA, we're just going to do tour shows for them instead of TV deals. So that's just great. Obviously now with them losing not 1 but 2 TV deals, that's probably going to be tough to try to get anything for the next year or so. Which, this is another reason why we haven't released the this skin. No one's really asked for it, but we gotta change this. We gotta bring this over, bring that over. Which is an easy fix, and also fix that too. But these are easy fixes. Take this bar out, move this bar. Actually, you don't really need to move it. That's actually good, but just stuff like that. But I guess, we can't, as far as, so I don't think they'll give us a TV deal. We gotta wait at least a year, so, going to suck, as far as from that regard. Not great. Not great there for the JWA. It's unfortunate, because a lot of talent, a lot of talent, but just ain't gonna happen. Luckily, it will probably be still, the JWA will still be like the biggest promotion in Japan, even though, as far as with Japan, of course, we'll just go ahead and just make it Japan only. Of course, the IWE, I wouldn't say they're hot on our tails, because they also have lost their television deal as well. So it's just all around Japan. Not looking too hot. Just kind of crazy. High standards over there in Japan for their TV deals. But money-wise, looking great. It's just kind of crazy again that they were not going to be medium company. But they're still, Kanto-wise, still very over. Not sure exactly how we're going to do. Think we're going to probably run the tour. Kanto, Chubu, maybe Toku, maybe. Just kind of see how it happens. But that's just the JWA. with, of course, we basically talked about with Big Time Wrestling in San Francisco. Man, as far as Ray Stevens, Pat Patterson, that has been the draw. That has been the moneymaker. We've had some great matches because of that. So National All Star Wrestling, that's the B show, and we've been pretty much treating it as the B show. And then Big Time Wrestling, that's been the A show, which is funny because they're both were 50s. But yeah, I mean the 2 out of 3 falls, the time limit draw matchup, Pedro Morales and Peter Maivia against the Gladiator and the Man, which you probably should have done. Maybe instead of the Gladiator and the Man, maybe do. It's kind of crazy. Stan Stasiak and Ricky Hunter, the Gladiator, actually did better than Pedro Morales and Peter Maivia. I believe that they had a chemistry knock. Bearcat Wright still doing well. Mainly promos wise, matches wise, not so much. Well, he did well, but Carl Gotch didn't. We'll probably have to get rid of Carl Gotch because ratings wise, not great. But he's over though, so he's going to help us a lot as far as in that regard. But yeah, almost 20,000 people at the Oakland Alameda County Arena. Was gonna run the Cow Palace, but it was like, man, 20,000 people. That's a lot of fucking people. But yeah, we were riding a pretty big wave going into the end of the month show. The 2 out of 3 falls tag team title matchup on All Star, and yeah, we'll probably in the future have just kind of strictly title matches. We'll probably be on Big Time Wrestling and not National All Star Wrestling, since that's the B show. But it was nice to put some shine on it. Maybe once a month we'll do something big on that show. But yeah, that's just kind of been. They definitely have my heart. Big Time Wrestling in San Francisco right now. Jim Crockett has been interesting because again, we were having the title tournament and that's kind of was the main focus. But obviously, money wise, rolling in dough, looking great as far as from that regard. I definitely want to see I don't know why we clicked on the title since we just went through it. But as far as from a matches standpoint, the Blonde Bombers, Johnny Weaver and George. As far as George Becker and Johnny Weaver, that has been the top program. Becker and Weaver, they've been the top acts. Skull Murphy has done really well though, so I'm glad he's champion from that regard as far as singles wise. Definitely am hoping for big things with Jim Crockett. Western States in Big Time Wrestling, as far as the bottom two, that's kind of fitting because as far as on the horizon, as far as in maybe even early as March, we're gonna switch out one of those or both of those for Championship Wrestling from Florida and probably either Tri-State or St. Louis. Or even Mid-America, Nick Goulis's promotions, potentially there. Trying to think what else. Or if Georgia Championship Wrestling, potentially, as well. We might even do the Wahoo Dory Funk Jr. match on like a non-televised house show in Georgia. It's an idea. Of course, Dale Martin Promotions, which that's, sort of Jackie Paulo, of course, over there. And I wonder how they're doing, actually. Wow, that's actually a good show. Good show there. So, yeah, and of course, Big Time Wrestling, once it eventually becomes world class, Central States. So far, I believe, as far as, the kind of regional battles, Western States has been getting its ass kicked. The Midwest, St. Louis, has actually done better than AWA, which is kind of crazy. Southeast, wow, Nick Goulis's fucking show. Wow, was that the end of the month? Yeah, that was the Dory Funk Jr. Jackie Fargo match. Did really well. Good on him. Kind of crazy. Gulf Coast Championship Wrestling even doing better than Georgia Championship Wrestling. Hollywood Wrestling from, I about to say Hollywood Wrestling from California, but just Hollywood Wrestling, they did well too with either, great, Ojika and Pepper Gomez, was a 72. It's a 67, that show. Kind of shocking, yeah. I still stand by the, that's kind of crazy that our best show was this. Because it probably should have been that. I don't know how it was only a 57. I guess it was because it was ranked off of the entire show. We might have to change that for some of those. Because I bet that's what it is. Actually, let's go ahead and look. Because that will probably help us out a lot, actually. Yeah, regular focus. Yeah. Let's do the main event spotlight. We should probably do that. We probably should have done that for all of them at the start of the save. That probably would have helped so much, actually. Yeah, that was a bit of an oversight. Yep, that is definitely... Because we probably wouldn't have lost any television with the JWA. I mean, Big Time Wrestling might have lost it, maybe not. Really wouldn't have depended on that. But yeah, I think that's probably for the best, at least for that. We'll probably do that with Stampede too, potentially. Yeah, we'll do that with the JWA. Not that it matters now, since we gotta change their... Which, I'm cool with that anyways, since obviously Japan, that's what they're known for, is their tour show schedules. So that's probably something it's nice to incorporate that early. Maybe not so early that, it's only a month in. But I'm glad we got to do it anyways. But yeah, main event focus. Nice. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all the major talking points. What's going on for the month of February for the save? A lot of big title matches. As far as the Killer Kowalski Bruno match is going to be fun. Harley Race Vern Gagne is going to be a good match. Stampede, I'm not really sure what's going to be the main program, actually. Obviously, Billy Robinson, whoever throws in there with him is going to be incredible matchup. But, him and Don Leo Johnson's actually doing still pretty well at 38 years old. Which he just defeated Bob Sweetan to retain. That was at the end of the month show. So yeah, well, should be exciting. Should be exciting to see how it all plays out. As far as really the JWA, with Baba, and I don't know when we're gonna do the Inoki Baba switch, or if we're gonna have them, who's gonna leave the JWA and form whatever promotion they form. I'm really feeling like having it be called Pro Wrestling Noah. That would be kind of fun, but at the same time, maybe All Japan might be the call. Maybe the call. Because New Japan, I don't know, like it was a fun idea in theory when All Japan started first, but like, I don't know. The JWA is such a to have that be the major show in the major promotion in Japan for as long as we can would really make this series stand out. Though, as something different. Though, it's kind of the thing with that. And obviously Western States, their big show, as we just as far as we've set it up as Funk versus Wahoo, we'll probably actually just take it right from this press release though. And call it NWA World Heavyweight Title Clash. Wahoo McDaniel versus Dory Funk Jr. Just feels like that makes a lot of sense. So we'll probably do that. And, it's kind of crazy again. Out of the 8 promotions, Western State Sports is the only one that lost money. Not looking too hot. Not looking too hot for them, but I think it's going to be a great show between Dory Funk Jr., the great match itself, between Dory Funk Jr. and Wahoo McDaniel, which we're also going to do the main event spotlight as well for that. But yeah, that is the safe as far as in one official month in. It's been exciting stuff. A lot of things happening. A lot of things going on. They're talking about Dory Funk Jr. potentially getting injured. That makes sense. That man is working so fucking hard. Working his fucking ass off. Hopefully he does not get hurt. But we shall wait and see. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you guys next month for what will look like going into the month of March in the year 1970. Take care, everyone.